Guys, it's Booligan with Airsoft Retreat and BooliganAirsoft.com. Today we're going to take a quick look at one of the project guns that I put together a few years ago, and maybe to give you an idea for one that you'd like to do yourself. This is I call it my Scout Rifle. It is based on the theory of the Scout Rifle, which is basically if you can only have one gun, what should that one gun have? I built this thing for simplicity, ease of use, and really to be a skirmishable gun at a pretty bargain price. There's only one really expensive part on this gun, which we'll talk about in just a minute. What I wanted to do was make something that was short, lightweight. The thing does not weigh very much at all. It comes in under 39 inches. One of the things that I really like about it is its simplicity. Bolt action. The internals of it are pretty much bone stock. This gun started as a Well MB02, which is the short-barreled Well VSR-10 compatible sniper rifle. You'll note that I do not refer to this gun as a sniper rifle in its present form. That's not what I use it as at all. One of the complaints that people have about the Well MB platform is that it does have some incompatibility issues, especially in the cylinder area. I want to say the cylinder is not compatible with VSR-10. However, the internal parts are. Regardless, I didn't delve into that too much. I wanted to be able to do this with moderately stock parts. The benefit of using the Well platform is it is dirt cheap. At the time that I built this, it was, I want to say, about 80 bucks. And it included a scope and a bipod, which I did not use. So I was able to sell those and recoup some of my costs. Other reason I went with the MB02 is it has one of the shortest barrels, shorter than the R10 G-Spec. And I want to say it's shorter than the Marui G-Spec as well. What I did with it, internally at least, was very, very simple and stuff that you can do at home for free. First, I did a polish on the inner barrel. How I accomplish that is I build a bit. And I have one that I've used for a lot of different guns. And I start with a cleaning and unjamming rod. Cut one end off, the end that unjams. And you're able to then thread that into a power drill. I put a small pad on the other side, and I like to use Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. It does a pretty good job of smoothing out imperfections. It's a really micro-abrasive finish, so it doesn't take a lot of material off. However, it smooths out imperfections and leaves it to just a mere finish. And it's really inexpensive. It's something you can buy at Walmart for just a couple of bucks. And I do that to the inner barrel. Just run it through a couple of times, obviously with the inner barrel out of the gun, so you're not gunking up anything. And it just smooths things out. It's really not going to hurt a stock barrel. So if something you want to try out, feel free to try it out, see if it works for you. Let me know if it helps you out. The other thing I did, and I'll post a link to the thread where I documented this build. Inside the cylinder head, it has a very angled taper. So if you were to look at it from the side, there's the edge, then it kicks in at about a 45-degree angle, then it kicks in another 45-degree angle down through the air nozzle. I wanted to smooth that out, so I used my power drill again as kind of a lathe. I actually clamped it on the air nozzle, wrapped up in electrical tape so it wouldn't gouge anything, and set it on high, and that way I was actually able to smooth and shape the inner surface of the cylinder head and smooth it out a little bit. After doing that, I netted about a 15 FPS gain. At the time of initial testing, I went from about 430 consistently to just about 445 FPS, somewhere right around there. Now, the gun is several years older. It's seen a lot of use. I've actually used this more than most of the other guns in my arsenal. And I just chronoed it about 20 minutes ago, and it was shooting between 428 and 436 FPS on the nose. Very small deviation in that, just plus or minus 2 or 3 FPS, which is pretty good. So it's still, a couple years later, it's still absolutely skirmishable. Other than that, I didn't do anything to the internals of this thing. Most of what I did was to the externals. I added iron sights and a front-mounted scope rail. The scope rail was mounted back here. I mounted it up here. I did this with a liberal use of JB Weld. Sanded everything first so I had a good bare material to work with, and clamped it on, made sure it was centered, and it works great. I can use a forward-mounted optic on this, and I have one. It's actually a shotgun scope, long eye relief, ends up about here. I just don't use it that much anymore because, frankly, I love the iron sights. The iron sights came off of a BE, a bolt elephant gas-powered shotgun. And what I did is just set a small screw to attach the housing in the front, use the existing bolt, and it's butted up against this so that you don't get any rotation in the back. They are adjustable for windage at the front, elevation at the rear without using tools. You can just slide it as needed. And the nice part about it is that it's a ghost ring style sight, and it just lines up really easily without having to force your cheek down on the, to get like a really aggressive cheek weld. It just points and shoots so very well. One of the reasons that I wanted to build this rifle was to have something that I could just toss in a bag and just bring with me. I don't have to worry about gas. I don't have to worry about batteries, make sure my batteries are charged. I can use this hot weather, cold weather. I'm out here in Utah, and we have temperature swings from over 100 degrees to today. It's the end of March, and we got 8 inches of snow last night. I mean, we just have crazy weather out here, so it's nice to have a gun that I know is going to function exactly the same, regardless of where I am with it. The big thing on this gun is the finish, and that's the thing that I get most comments about. Everyone asks, how did you do such a good job painting this gun? I didn't paint it at all. It's actually done through a company called Hydrodip, based out of Idaho, and I'll have a link on the video. What they do is they do what's called a water transfer process, and basically they coat a special adhesive on the gun, they put a base paint on the gun, and they put this film, and it's actually licensed Multicam. It has the Multicam trademarks throughout it, and they float it in a bath of water. They take your part and they dip it through, and this film actually adheres to it. But it's not a film you can peel off. As you can see, I mean, the paint on this thing, where it sets against my shoulders, rubbing off, on the bolt it's rubbing off, on the inside of the trigger well it's gone, just from my finger rubbing against it. But the finish on the stock is basically bulletproof. There's like only 1 or 2 spots where it's just barely coming through. I mean, you can't just scratch this stuff off. It is a permanent finish. It's expensive. At the time, it cost about $100 to get a gun dipped. But when you're looking at doing something like, there are the kits where you can buy they use the airbrush, and it comes with the stencils and the paints, but you have to supply the airbrush. Those kits are $100, and you have to know what the hell you're doing. Otherwise, you'll end up with a crappy finish. I would much rather leave this to the professionals, have something that comes out looking this gorgeous and lasting as long as it has. The only downside is because of how it works, there is a seam line. You can't feel it. It's not like a physical seam line, but you can see where the pattern changes. I elected to have that at the top rather than at the bottom. One of the benefits of keeping the gun stock spring-wise is a very light bolt pull. You just have to, it's a very quick, very light trigger. You're not really cranking against it, and I feel comfortable giving this thing to anyone and knowing that they're not going to break it. I mean, it's super, super durable. The trigger pull is adjustable on the Well series, and I have it adjusted for just a little short, light pull. See? Very little take up, very consistent release. How I use this gun is almost like a bolt action DMR. I have a little bit more range. I can hit just shy of around 200 feet with this pretty consistently if I'm using the right ammo. And that's with glass optics. With iron sights, if I'm going to be doing just quick snapshots, 150 to about 175 feet is easily doable. So what I'll do is, I just have this lightweight, easy to use gun. It's quiet, nothing on it to make noise. So I'll run out with no gear, just simple camouflage uniform, and I can scout, which is the whole purpose of a scout rifle, and see what's going on, report back intelligence, and if I need to shoot, I've got a lightweight, very accurate, and relatively quiet gun. Past about 100 feet, you can't really hear where this thing's shooting from because it's just one single shot. It's a really fun project, and you can do it, obviously, if you weren't to do the, ridiculous finish on it, hydro dipping it or anything like that. You could easily build one of these things for 100 to 120 bucks. It just depends on what parts you have access to. But really the important parts for me on the gun were that it was an easy, good base gun. And that's why I like the MBO2. I purchased it through Airsplat. And the iron sights were absolutely critical to me. So you may have a little bit of a hard time tracking down the iron sights. Like I said, I pulled them off of a broken gas shotgun that I had, and it works great. So for the full information on what I did, what I didn't do, what I was setting out to do, and how it kind of deviated from my original plan, check out the link that I'll post on this video in the information section on Airsoft Retreat. Many thanks to the sponsors who helped make this happen. Hydro Dip, who put this amazing finish on it. I cannot compliment this finish enough. And Airspot, who provided the base gun. So thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the rest of my reviews and information on Booligan Airsoft and airsofretreat.com. Have a great day.